the area.
Doing meat inspection at the abattoir, and at the same time taking care of the animals, injecting them, vaccinating them when they are not in good condition.
Ghana Navy takes delivery of 2 high-speed boundary class ships from the United States to boost its marine laws enforcement mandate.
Is most important, and especially important, in regional security for the Gulf of Guinea and for West Africa. The Gulf of Guinea, I don't want to belabor the point, but is important from a world perspective.
And later on, CNR Extra judges in The Voice Factory Season 5 expect a keen contest after what has been described as a stellar performance at the first live show on Saturday.
I had a blown out night. I've not seen them after, so I don't know even what they went through, but the machine they went through to get here, I think that machine really did a great work. I must commend whoever is handling them, because the change is quite enormous.
CNR Extra is live on CCTV. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comments via WhatsApp line 0204447033. You can also join us on YouTube as we stream there live on CityTube. Neil Latte, welcome to the show. How are you doing, my brother?
Thank you, Philip. It's a brand new week.
And we are hoping that everything is going to go on well
exactly
this week.
So.
Yeah.
I trust you enjoyed your weekend.
Well, I did. Let's bring you the very first story. And government has announced implementation of structural and financial measures hoped to reform the economy. Let's bring you that insight.
We're grateful for choosing us in our very first story. The government has announced the implementation of structural and financial reforms in the country's operations with a focus on sectors including the energy, cocoa, and also on revenue mobilization. These reforms are part of a strategy to restore the economy, which include the receipt of the first tranche of the $3 billion extended credit facility from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. According to the media, addressing the media, the Finance Minister, Kenneth Oriata, indicated that the reforms aim to promote fiscal discipline and stabilize the economy. There is more in this report. Ghana received the first tranche of the $3 billion extended credit facility from the International Monetary Fund (IMF), with 6 other tranches expected within the next 3 years. This move forms part of measures to support Ghana's post-COVID-19 program for economic growth (PCPEG). The implementation of the PCPEG aims to restore macroeconomic to help achieve its goal. Expenditure controls, energy and cocoa sector reforms are among government's priority areas.
Let me state clearly that securing the IMF program is not an end to our current challenges, though it has significantly paved the way for the implementation of an ambitious and well thought out program of reform for our economy and country. In fact, the real work of adjustment, realignment, and the return to a path of steady economic growth has just begun. Let us brace ourselves for the needed reforms, especially in expenditure control, non-arrears accumulation, revenue growth, ECG collections, and energy sector reforms in order to rebuild the walls of the Republic with urgency. That said, our reform program, the post-COVID-19 program for economic growth, now supported by a 3-year standard credit facility arrangement of the IMF, is built on clear targets
general government operations.
It is important to stress that this structural reform agenda is consistent with government's own public financial management strategy to transition from central government to general government operations. This shift is critical as it facilitates clear oversight over key state institutions, that's MMDAs, SOEs, especially Cocoa Board and ECG, and others in the energy sector, and other quasi-state institutions whose operations have significant and direct fiscal impact on our economy. Critically, we must all remain committed to the agreed wide-ranging and strong structural reforms designed to address structural weaknesses and build resilience in key areas, including tax policy and tax administration, expenditure control and arrears clearance, financial stability, financial sector plans, review of statutory funds, governance and corruption, debt management, fiscal credibility, and energy sector and cocoa sector SOE reforms.
He, however, indicated that the reforms will not affect the vulnerable, but rather safeguard some social interventions already being implemented by the government.
So most of the fears that people have in his last State of the Nation address on COVID, and also measures being put in place for the IMF bailout, also to ensure that the economy is brought back to its feet or toes. The president made mention of the fact that the IMF bailout wouldn't bring an end to the woes of the country, so far as the economy is concerned. And the finance minister also reiterated that same fact when he addressed the press yesterday.
Interesting how the government itself has acknowledged and admitted all of these structural reforms it is intending on, embarking to ensure that we are able to bring our, debt to a very more sustainable level, and also ensure that we are on the right path to, economic recovery. I remember when government was insisting that it was not going to turn to the International Monetary Fund for, a support, but here we are today talking about some other conditionalities and also some other programs we intend to roll out to ensure that we are able to get ourselves out of this economic quagmire. But mind you, Philip, two key things that the minister talks about during the press conference, that they are still on, concluding their debt exchange program, debt restructuring, especially with, external creditors. They are yet to reach, that particular memorandum of understanding with, the external, and bilateral creditors to ensure that you are able to, because we are looking at cutting down our interest payment by some 10.5 billion US dollars. But also the conversation largely is that, are we seeking to get, a complete debt cancellation or forgiveness from these particular, creditors? But also the 6 thematic working areas that the government wants to work with. I just want to run by you some of the things that the government intends to do. Key, heavily among them, is the energy sector or cocoa sector reforms, also public financial management, structural reforms, financial sector reforms, tax policy and revenue, macro fiscal, and also growth and social protection. Cutting across, the energy sector and also state-owned enterprises. And we've said time without number, in fact, industry players and also analysts, financial ones, of course, have said that, well, the problem we have with our revenue generation and also expenditure largely because of, inefficiencies in, government structures. And so if the government is saying that, well, this is how we want to go about it, I'm just praying that, or hoping that they will be able to put the necessary monetary mechanisms in place to ensure that we achieve some of these things. Because we know that even as we speak, IPPs are actually being owed. And then government says that, and even labor unions are looking at some government wants to find solace in the statement made by the International Monetary Fund that, well, there are already signs of, economic recovery. Well, be as it may be sending the positive signals, but it may also be, a panacea to, letting us rest on our hours and not doing what is expected of us. So for me, I thought it was too early for the IMF to come out with such a statement that, well, we are already recording signs of, I mean, we got the approval about a month ago.
Isn't it a way to boost investor confidence? So
well, it may
when
be,
the IMF brings such statement out, people will know that, okay, fine, the Ghanaian economy is doing well, and that we would have to also push our funds in there.
Well, it may be boosting investor confidence. In fact, the government has already said it. You remember that days after the approval, we got that 300 million, US dollars from the United States to help us, acquire some data center. It was heavy during the press conference yesterday. And even government said that, well, that particular amount of money signals a positive investor confidence. And also, based on the approval, we are expecting some other funds from, our multilateral partners. The World Bank, for example, we are made to understand that it's going to show up, the revenue of the country. And so for me, it is very important that we assess, we put in place mechanisms to assess the effective, monitoring of our expenditure, because by and large that is where the challenge is. Because if you look at all the things that the government intends to work with, especially with the public financial management structure and also the financial sector, and as well as the tax policy, that is why a lot of people say that, well, we sat down for the IMF to be telling us all of these things when we know for ourselves what our challenge is and the remedies available thereof. And so if the government says, well, this is what they want to, I just want to believe that they're actually going to put words into action and ensure that you are able to get back on track.
Well, the finance minister also yesterday made mention that the government is expected to receive about $6.2 billion from its multilateral partners between 2023 and 2026. But you can find more of these stories on our website at citynewsroom.com. You can visit there and get all the breakdown from what the finance minister said in the presser yesterday. Away from this story, and cattle farmers and butchers in the Ewutu Senya East municipality, they are taking steps to address consumer fears following reports of an anthrax case in the area.
Now, cattle farmers and butchers in Kaswa in the Ewutu Senya East municipality have taken steps to address consumer fears following an alleged case of anthrax infection in the area. The Environmental Health and Sanitation Unit of the Ewutu Senya East Municipal Assembly recently confiscated meat products suspected to be contaminated with anthrax bacteria at the Kaswa New Market. The following report highlights the impact of the outbreak on the cattle market in some parts of the country and the measures being implemented by stakeholders to prevent a spread. On 1st June this year, the Upper East Regional Directorate of the Ghana Health Service announced an outbreak of the deadly anthrax virus. 11 individuals were infected and at least one death was reported in the Binduri district as a result of consuming meat from deceased cattle. To prevent further spread, the Upper East Regional Coordinating Council imposed a ban on the movement of ruminants in Bansi in the Binduri district and Sapelega in the Boko West district. The ban also includes the sale, slaughter and consumption of these animals for a month. Despite efforts to combat this potential epidemic, some individuals have been found in violation of the ban. Recently, the Environmental Health and Sanitation Unit of the Ewutu Senya East Municipal Assembly confiscated suspected unwholesome smoked beef at the Kaswa New Market. The meat was discovered to have been transported from Boko. Rabi Mohammed, a veterinary officer at the municipality, led the confiscation exercise and provided an account of the incident to City News.
We were here last week when I had a call from the police station, that's Kaswa New Market Police Station, that the environmental reported a case that a woman brought a meat from the Upper East region. So we rushed to the market and then asked the woman to provide the permits. The veterinary officer who gave her the permit to bring the meat. So we called our head office, our big men, and we were asked to destroy the meat. So we destroyed the meat and we gave it to the environmental to go and dig a pit. You have to dig a very deep pit and then you bury it or you burn it with a tie. So that's exactly what we did.
She also outlined the measures the Assembly is implementing to ensure the safety of the cattle market for both sellers and buyers.
Doing meat inspection at the abattoir and at the same time taking care of the animals, injecting them, vaccinating them when they are not in good condition.
So how often do you vaccinate the animals?
We do it yearly. We have the CBPP vaccination for the cattle. That's the large animals. And then we have PPR vaccination for small ruminant. That's the sheep and goat. So we do it every year. Yes. And we also issue movement permits. When customers come to buy animals from the livestock market, we issue movement permit for them. We inspect the animal if they are in good condition for them to go and slaughter or either to go and rear it at houses.
The anthrax outbreak has had a significant impact on the livestock market, as evidenced by the situation at Kaswa New Market Abattoir. Musa Issa, the chief butcher of the area, acknowledges that it is not business as usual.
Dama mutane na kuka gane ba kudi ya bari price na cinikin na zo ya tsaya sai wanga kuma yazo ya kara. It's affected since mun lose almost 40% customers. Don kowa na jin tsoro sai nama. Amma ina so in show mutanen Ghana, especially Kaswa, ga kowa ji tsoron shigo a Kaswa sai nama.
However, he assures consumers that they are committed to keeping the ruminants safe from anthrax and other diseases. He urges buyers to look for veterinary certification on meat products before making a purchase.
Don Kaswa nkazo abatuwa muna da environmental, muna da veterinary. In ka kawo dabban ka an yi antimotin. An kai antimotin 2 days, 3 days, sana a yanka dabban nan. An yanka dabban nan kuma veterinary a yi postmortem. In akwai matsala kai, ana bada kunni namun. Ni kankan ke sayin ga, san ce ma last 3-4 months, an kone shanu na. An kone shanu full, an sa taya an kone. Don sun ciwo. Saboda wani rashes da ya zo kai cikin shanu. Veteran na gwada wani rashes nan wanda ya ce affect, yasa sun bada an kone shanu nan gaba daya. Wurin jikin shanu, in ka diba kaga cikin abin ga shanu ga kaga stamp nan. Ga na veterinary, ga na environmental. Su duka sun certify kamar naman nan 100% kamar je market. Sai sa an ka zo zaka sai naman shanu, kai kokari ka duba cikin katattaran nan. In ka duba cikin katattaran, in ba ka ga stamp ba, bari mai sai da naman ne ya baka receipt. Don dai kayan ka shanu an baka receipt from abattoir, apart from stamp. An ka baka wannan receipt nan ka duba date is current one, ka sai nama.
To gain insight into the process of ensuring cattle safety, we visited Musa's ranch at the Kaswa Cattle Farm, the largest in the municipality. He explained the process of vaccinating the cattle and preparing them for the market.
Kawo shanu na life, an sa shi ciki, veterinary zo ya yi antimoti, ya verify kawo shanu ga kamata yanka. In an ka yanka a kare, in za a yanka sai na sa cikin abattoir. An ka sa cikin abattoir an ka yanka, sai veterinary kuma ya zo abin da kace mu postmortem ya bare cikin naman nan kuma ya gani kan babu wani problem. Don santan ka ga shanu nan ga an yi zamu shi for 3 days nan duka yana da good lafiya lo, amma an yanka an samu wani problem inside. Sai sai ya zo haka nan veterinary nan na koma ya duba naman. In an samu problem wannan naman ya kamata a season shi.
His colleague Suleiman Abdallah expressed similar sentiments.
Since we've received the news, our market has been very slow. You know, in Ghana, when there are news of that kind of bad news of sickness, especially affecting food commodities, sometimes the price of that particular commodity goes down. And in fact, we are really affected, because since the outbreak of that particular news, we are not seeing the customers to buy our animals like we used to see. The population or the customer, coming has gone down. So it is really affecting our business here.
He also appealed to the government and relevant authorities to support to ensure regular vaccination of cattle.
The outbreak of this particular disease has really awakened us. But our plea, especially to our government, especially Ministry of Agric, those days they used to help us in this kind of vaccination. But in fact, for the last, for some few years now, it is not coming again. And sometimes the vaccines are not common. It is not easy to go into the market and buy them, but you have to go through the Ministry of Health, Agric, or that kind of thing. So we are on this particular issue. We are using this opportunity to call on the Agric Ministry sector to pay attention to this particular farming sector. They should come to our aid, because we need this vaccine to always survive and prevent this particular outbreak of diseases.
Anthrax is a rare but serious zoonotic disease caused by Bacillus anthracis. Its impact on human and animal lives is severe and should not be underestimated.
So this issue started from the Upper East region and has now entered the Central region, according to the reports that we just heard. And it's obvious that the various stakeholders, like we've been saying here every now and then, that the Ghana Health Service, the Agric Ministry, all the stakeholders involved must take this thing seriously. Because we understand that the vaccination exercise was done extensively in the Upper East region. But what stops us from getting the vaccination exercise done nationwide? Because we have almost in every part of this country there are cattle, and that is expected that you can't tell. Maybe you suspected that this particular cattle, this meat that is also on this particular market has anthrax in there, but you wouldn't be able to monitor keenly all the meat that will be on the market. So I think that the vaccination exercise may have to go down well, especially when we have the Eid al-Adha coming next Thursday, and a lot of meat consumers will be out there to purchase meat.
Which actually brings me to this particular point that, well, I think by and large, the management of this particular, outbreak in the northern part of the country has actually been handled properly. If you ask me, because of the ban on, the consumption of meat products, and also the movement of, these animals. And so right from the northern region, we are experiencing, pockets of cases in the southern parts of the country. And so for me, I think what we need to do now, one, you mentioned of the vaccination, well, but if cases have not been recorded in, some other parts of the country, I think the first step actually should be sensitization, public awareness, public health interventions, equipping, the veterinary services in the various, districts to ensure that they put in place, those robust steps to ensure that they do not record cases, because as endemic as this particular outbreak may be, it may be very disastrous, and we know how this particular outbreak is a threat to, both human and animal life, and also affect economic activities, because, well, now that the ban has been instituted, persons who engage in the sale of, meat will be affected, and that is where the challenge is. And so it's good that people are vaccinated against this particular outbreak, but there again, we must also go all out there and ensure that people understand, the effect of this particular outbreak, and so they are able to handle meat products very well. Because the negligence of one particular person can be very, very detrimental to, the population or the community at large. And so if the Ewutu Senya East municipality is taking steps to address consumer affairs, I think they must go a step further to ensure that people are actually in a safe situation. Because look, in our part of the world, or in our part of the country, we know how people enjoy their meat very much. And we've also admitted that, well, there's salad coming in. So it's actually a major source of worry for, consumers of this particular product. And so it is all about vaccination, public health sensitization, intensification of, the various efforts, and making the locals understand the enormity of, this particular outbreak. Because, mind you, the lack of education will actually derail the efforts being put in place by the various municipal and district health directorates in some of the places that we are recording this particular outbreak. And so for me, I think the time is ripe for, health authorities to intensify surveillance as well. Put their eyes on the ground.
Central region is close to the Greater Accra region. And if we wouldn't say that it's yet in the Greater Accra region, but you would find a lot of people in the Greater Accra region into the meat business. So if measures are not taken immediately, I know this for sure that the close season for fisher folk. If there is a way that maybe activities of this meat or these butchers or this farmers could hold for say 2 weeks or some 3 weeks, it's going to be difficult though. But some measures could be put in place to ensure that at least the cattle could be vaccinated early, so we could save ourselves from a bigger problem that is looming, obviously.
Exactly, Philip. And so for people who may also want to enjoy their meat, they should make sure that they get it from the certified authority. But the advice largely is that because of the outbreak, they should be measured in the consumption of these, because you may not know where you will be able to contract this particular, fatal disease, because we've seen in the northern region, for example, about 11 persons have, lost their lives, and in the central region, no death has been recorded yet. But we do not want to get there, so the intensification of these processes must actually be prioritized, and I think that is where we'll be able to start managing this particular outbreak in the best interest of both health authorities and also the community at large, while protecting the livelihoods of butchers and the farmers who engage in this particular economic activity.
So one of the individuals who sells this meat at Wutusiyam made mention of the fact that if you are going to buy meat, you should check the stamp on the cattle. But what if you go there and that particular stamp has been removed, or probably has been cut off in the course of selling the meat? So the various stakeholders must take action to ensure that at least we protect lives, because this is very important. So you are still watching CNR Extra here on City TV, still to come. Sanitation workers under the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly threatened to strike
the day of a competition. From the shores to the pools to the beaches across the land, if you fancy yourself a competitive swimmer, this is for you. The City TV National Swimming Championships is happening on the 15th and the 16th of July 2023 at the Trust Sports Emporium. To register, WhatsApp your name, age and contact details to 0558 973 973 or call 0205 973 973. The City TV National Swimming Championships is brought to you by City TV with support from 97.3 City FM and the Ghana Swimming Association.
We apologize for that technical hitch here. You are welcome to CNR Extra here. You can join us with your thoughts, submissions, and comment via WhatsApp line 0204447033. Let's bring you some more stories. And sanitation workers under the KMA, they have threatened to strike over non-payment of allowances.
Thank you to the Ashanti region now, because sanitation workers under the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, KMA, have issued a one-week ultimatum to the Assembly to pay them all allowances due them or face an industrial action to compel the authorities to listen to their demands. According to the workers, not being paid for months is a situation they find worrying and want resolved as early as possible. The Metro Environmental Health Officer, however, tells City News they are putting measures in place to improve their working conditions, and as such, a strike or demonstration should not be the solution. City News' Bureau Chief for the Middle Belt, Edward Oponmafo, reports.
The sanitation workers are primarily contract staff who weed certain parts within the metropolis, while others are responsible for cleaning gutters and clearing the city of filth. The non-payment of the allowances, which is essential for survival, is a source of great concern. Abu Ilyasu, who who is the leader of the sanitation workers at the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, has been speaking to City News on their concerns.
Akwai si yayi juma anytime bi akwai du salary no so wan kwaka obia ntua. O salary wan kwa boss anka say oh na busumi aso na adan na muntua ya ka o kwaka so na akwai buachi bidin. Nto we nu nyina abeduru ha na say no akwanya say yedi kan ko wan bo say champagne ya kwa na so de kwatu nanum boss ona kan bi ne sia kan bi nyina se wase. Se ni se na ha ya salary no akwa 2 months 3 months no mutua ba akono emboa yan obi ho we loan ka loan na odi kan say akwa 2 months na odi kwa e batu ni nyina wonye ka prebia mfa nkofie nti esram nka mani entientia ya den ama yan ya kan nyina so no ankwasi ga ayedi obi ebedi ntinu me mutu santase apre da bia mutu 15 cities ansa na mabadwuma 15 cities a monthly aye 4.5 me sufuru me salary mu asa nti asa na kire da bia me continue na me ba na ye se me nya bibia anye anfa mbadwuma dem ba do ma gina se me do kura na dem do tonsu anu kura abayan nde sana te de sramo 2 months ne de mumma mumpupu mutire muntu ye sikan ya den amayan.
Abuiliasu says, following their recent agitations, the authorities have agreed to pay 1 month out of the 2 months arrears they are owed. However, the workers are not satisfied with the arrangement and continue to demand the full amount. They are also requesting a roadmap for resolving the issue.
And then I'm hoping oh, yeah, was me back on echo. I'm a simple for was me back on Amado Koyano. And what be any? Oh, you long, no quan was me back kwa, nipa kwa win yahe, Obia yero ma. To see I'm a cocoa do natural camamia, I'm a could do fear my mamma and a marano. And anytime biano, when ye be above boy, our home.
No man, ye, I'm a more striking and then some more cost and painful and yeah.
Paying for auntie, dear, a boy can I never say Yamomo out to an any week. See auntie, he dear, every tear she one thing because I never had a bacasa.
More you're striking a demonstration and
you're striking for demonstration because you see, I know, you can't avoid being free baby. And to see, I know, I be a strike another demonstration, I know, ding, I was sent to reading her, or more fair in Yahweh.
The Metro Environmental Health Officer, Yaofori, in an interview with City News, says the Assembly is making frantic efforts to improve the working conditions to avoid a need for a strike or demonstration.
But last year, they decided to embark on demonstration or a strike. But we managed to talk to them and everything was put on end. But what you are telling me currently, I don't know much about it. But because of what actually happened last year, I was able to have a meeting with the authorities. And then the authorities also approved that the salary or the allowance they've been taking is above the minimum wage. Now they have pushed it to 5.5, that is 550, which is above the minimum wage. So they don't have any problem, or they don't have any the audacity to go on any strike. The point is, the allowance is not coming persistently as they expected. When they expected every month it should come, but sometimes they may have a rest of 2 months, and then they will pay. They don't have any backlog or any money who has been there for a year or 2 or something of that nature. If you know even more than 3 months, as for 2 months, yes, I can assure you, it can be happening.
But currently, there's some arrears that you are supposed to pay.
I have about 2 months arrears now. As I'm speaking with you, 1 month has already paid, and Monday going, they are going to take their salary. I do organize meeting with them that they should come to work. If anything at all, if there is anything at all like arrest, I know for sure the government will pay or the assembly will pay. So they should not have the amount that we are going to embark on this kind of demonstration. It's not the best way to address issue. So if you have an issue, me as your head of the department, come to me, we'll sit down with them, we just have 1 or 2 thing discussions, and I will push for it to the authorities, and then they will address it for them. There's no point for them to go out and do all this kind of demonstration or the strike. It's not the way to address the issues here.
The sanitation workers are lamenting that the situation where their time's not paid for months affects them badly, and as such, they are insisting to embark on strike if the issue is not resolved as early as possible. For City News, I'm Edward Upon Marvel, Kumasi.
So this issue can easily be resolved. You said you owe them 2 months and you've paid 1 month. Pay them. Just pay them.
And so
the reason is we can't rule out sanitation workers. Very important. Every part of this country, because if you rule out these sanitation workers and they should lay off, or they should say that they are going on strike, or they should lay down their tools, certainly we are going to have chaos in part of this country where filth will engulf most parts of the country. So if this is the situation, 550 Ghana cedis a month, you pay them.
Even in instances where they are working, you've realized that our sanitation issues have actually overwhelmed us. Imagine they're not working at all. You see a major breakdown in the sanitation situation.
And Kumasi is the second largest city in the country. And if you don't do it well, and the place is not well kept, then what becomes of this particular country?
And for me, the problem and the posturing of those in authorities always admitting to issues but fail to communicate. That's actually where the problem is. You know exactly what the issue is. Have you said that, well, we are engaging them, okay, contract staff workers, we are unable to pay you your monthly allowance because of 1 or 2 reasons, but we are putting in place this particular roadmap ABC to ensure that you are able to get your allowance XYZ. But you don't do that. You wait for the workers to agitate, express their concern before you come out and say that this is not an issue. The allowances are not expected to come every month and all that. So if you are unable to pay them, what do? You communicate with them, because look, these are people who are the breadwinners of their family. You can hear from the man who was interviewed by Edward Opoma, and you realize that they rely heavily on them, so the inconsistent or irregular flow of their income is actually affecting them,
and that's what leads them to go in for loans.
Exactly.
And these loans, the money you pay them, that is their stipends or their allowances, is what we use to service these loans.
The servicing of these loans. And so the two bodies must actually come and sit on the table, actually iron out their concerns, for management to tell them exactly what their plans are in ensuring that these people receive the allowances due them, because they've worked, they've earned it, and there is no point denying them what is due them.
Rightly so. So the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly just ensured that the right thing is done. Away from this story, let's take you to the region close to the Kumasi or the Ashanti region, that is in the Ahafo region, and the Bechem Techia Mantia Akomedan Road is under construction. Let's bring you updates on that particular road.
Now, work is progressing steadily on the 40.4 kilometer Bechem Techimentia Akomadan Road. Residents who live along the road are commending the contractor for the work done so far. The Municipal Chief Executive for the Tano South Municipality in the Ahafo region, Collins Ofinam Techi, is urging motorists to bear with the contractor as the road will be diverted in the coming weeks to enable the contractor begin asphaltic works. City News' Michael Saponinfum travelled on the stretch and reports.
President Akufo-Addo on September 13, 2020, cut off for the construction of the 40.4 kilometer Bechem Techimentia Akomadan Road at a cost of 50 million euros. However, the commencement of the construction works by Rango Construction Limited delayed for almost a year. The delay in the commencement of the construction works became a concern for the inhabitants of the Tano North and South municipalities, because in 2016, construction works began on the same road but stalled along the way. However, in May 2021, the contractor Rango Construction Limited moved to site to begin works. During a recent drive on the road, it was observed that work was progressing steadily. The road used to be one of the terrible roads to travel on in the Tano North and South municipalities and the Ahafo region. The situation became worse, especially in the rainy season. The road, when complete, will reduce the number of hours spent by motorists from western, north and Ahafo regions to the northern part of the country. Some residents who live along the stretch have been speaking on the ongoing works.
ɛne ade nti kwan no deɛ contractor no so ɔbɔ adwuma ɛda premium si so asɛ sɛ wɔmatu ho na ma kwan no ɛkɔ so
mani agye papa ya brɛ ɛkwa yi ka ɛba nsuo tɔ ne ka ɛba ne aka kwan so yɛ nneɛma nyinaa ɛba na aka kwan so menim sɛ nyame ada woromade ɛkɔ so yi deɛ anigyeɛ aba fie nti ɛda mpanyimfo a wɔn yɛ kwa n'ase
deɛ me wɔ ka ne sɛ nyankopɔn na yɛde bɛda mo aseɛ mo ayɛ adeɛ paa ho kyerɛ deɛ yɛwura bi mu yɛsɛ so deɛ mama sɛ deɛ yɛne yɛkɔ kurom bi si yɛda ba ase ne yɛda mo so a mo yɛ kwa no hyira nka mo de nyame hyira mo paa.
The municipal chief executive for the Tano South Municipality, Collins Ofinam Techi, who went on an inspection tour of the ongoing works, speaks on how critical the road is to the people.
Because I remember about 2 years ago, you did a story on this road and how the road users were complaining about the bad nature of the road. When you came to the office, I remember I told you that plans were far advanced for this road to be reconstructed. So you see the massive changes and the massive work ongoing here. We are in attachment here, and I said it somewhere that for the first time in the history of Ahafo, a town in Ahafo region is going to have a dual carriage, about 1 kilometer dual carriage in the attachment here road. And this road is 40 kilometers from Bechem through Jumo to Techimentia, through Piapiase, Akobro, Subriso to Afrancho in the Ashanti region. So it's a road which is going to connect the Ahafo to the northern part of Ashanti region to Bono East, equal to enter Techiman through Ashanti region. And I'm very, very happy. And I'm so grateful to the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the road minister, and my colleague and my brother, Honorable Benjamin Ebuasetre, the member of parliament for this area.
He appeals to motorists to bear with the inconvenience that will be created in the coming days as the road is diverted to enable the contractor begin the asphaltic works.
It's an appeal for the inconvenience that I'm making to the road users, the passengers. If you are connecting from Jumo to Bichim, it is about 5 kilometers. So maybe within 5 minutes you are done. But because we are going to do the diversion, you have to cut through Bianquanta to Bichim. It's going to inconvenience, but I'm using this medium to plead with them, to collaborate with the contractors, to also collaborate with anybody who has any role to play on this road, so that in no time we will finish and we will have our road and all of us will be happy. So I'm pleading with them to collaborate with us.
If this road is completed, it will reduce the number of hours drivers who ply the Bechem to the northern parts of this country. From Techimentia, I am Mike Saponifum for City News.
And that's a good one there. We hope that that gesture or what is happening there will be done in other parts of the country. I think it's a good one. Once we have our roads being fixed, we are all excited.
Yeah, they've started. It's stalled. They've resumed the reconstruction work. So we are only hoping that it will continue, because this is actually a trunk road connecting two major cities or regions, and also economic activities in those parts of the country actually rely heavily on, the smooth nature of some of the roads in there, especially because people may have to, cut goods from one area to the other to market centers to ensure that economic growth continues in that part of the country, and also in providing, direct and indirect jobs and others. So if governments fast forward to 2023, after it broke the ground in 2020, 50 million, euros have been committed to it. We are expecting that 40-kilometer road will be completed so that, economic activities in those parts of the country are able to, thrive.
Rightly so. You're still watching CNR Extra here on CCTV. Still to come. Judges in the Voice Factory Season 5 expect a keen contest after what has been described as a stellar performance at the first live show on Saturday. Kindly stay with us. We'll be back with more stories.
become a household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Hugo Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated prizes, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.hugoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. Hugo Flip. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
Welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories. And Ghana has received 2 high-speed boundary class ships from the United States to boost its marine law enforcement mandates. Let's bring you that insight.
Stories now. The Ghana Navy has received 2 high-speed boundary class ships from the United States of America to boost its maritime law enforcement mandate. Speaking to City News during the delivery of the 2 class ships by the U.S. vessel at the Takoradi Harbor, the flag officer commanding of the Western Naval Command, Commodore Emmanuel Kwafo, said the vessels will add to their capacity to fight against armed robbery at sea, piracy, illegal bunkering, drug and human trafficking, and protection of Ghana's fisheries resources. City News' Akwasi Ajayanim has more.
The 2 high-speed boundary classic ships arrived at the Takoradi Harbor on board the Ocean Giant vessel. The vessels, which took a while to be launched, each came with a boat and have maximum speed of 25 knots. The U.S. Naval Attaché to Ghana, Commander Captain McLean, who handed over the 2 class ships to Ghana, said Ghana's Navy plays a critical role in maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea. Hence, the vessels are to strengthen Ghana's regional maritime security and defense capabilities.
I would like to present from the United States these vessels for the strengthening of the Ghana regional maritime defense. Ghana is most important, and especially important, in regional security for the Gulf of Guinea and for West Africa. The Gulf of Guinea, I don't want to belabor the point, but is important from a world perspective in terms of trade throughout, and we would like to present these vessels to you, sir, to the Ghana Navy, and we thank the leadership of your country for this partnership.
The flag officer commanding Western Naval Command, Commodore Emmanuel Ayensu Kwafo, said the vessels will give it.
So these ships that have been brought in, we know is going to intensify security on the country's high seas, which is very important because in recent times we had issues of piracy, we had issues of, even when it comes to the close seasons period, there are some issues here and there. So I think it's going to help so much on the security issue when it comes to the sea.
And especially at the time somewhere in April when there was a report that actually said that Ghana was on the top of list when it comes to, piracy and also other attacks on, the marine front. And so we believe that this particular partnership or investment with the United States will actually go a long way to dealing with some of the crimes on our seas.
Well, away from this story, and judges in The Voice Factory Season 5, they are excited about what they are seeing so far. Let's bring you that insight.
The Voice Factory Season 5 are describing this year's edition as one to be keenly contested. This was after all 11 contestants produced stellar performances at the first live show of the musical contest. The contestants are seeking to capture the bragging rights and the cash prize of 20,000 Ghana cedis when they emerge winner of this year's edition of the musical reality show. Here is a wrap of Saturday's performances of The Voice Factory Season 5.
Knowing what is at stake, the contestants came on the show with a mentality to prove their qualification into the competition. The 11 contestants for the first live show were to perform any favorite rhythms and blues R&B song. Performing How Deep Is Your Love by PJ Morton, Jerry L. mesmerized the judges and audience with his melodious voice.
How deep is your love? Is your love? How deep is your love? I really need to learn, 'cause we're living in the world of fools, breaking us down when they all should let us leave. We belong to you and me. It's your love, how deep is your love? I really need to learn. Oh.
Contestants Seyram, Ernest, Titi, and Manuel respectively showcased what they have up their sleeve.
2 hours, you got more than 20/20, babe. 8 of plus the way you see through me. You know me better than I do. Can't seem to keep nothing from you. How you touch my soul from the outside. Pay me at my ego, my pride. I wanna love me the way that you love me. You'll fall out of my pretty and out of my ugly too. I love to see you from different views.
4, beat the steps 1 through 3 and 5. Make you fall in love with me. If ever I believe my work is done, then I'll start say farewell to the dark of night. I see the coming of the sun. I feel like a little child whose life has just begun.
And where can love take us now? We've been so far down. We can still touch the sky if we go out. Till we can walk again, then we'll run. Until we're strong enough to jump, then we'll fly. Until there is no end. So let's crawl, crawl, crawl back.
And I swear by the moon and the stars in the skies, I'll be there. I swear, like a shadow just by your side, I'll be there.
Another batch of performances from CLB, Cleos, Princess and AJ Wilson clearly showed how keenly contested this year's edition of The Voice Factory will be.
You may have got your heart broken a few times in the past. Never last strong as it used to. It don't feel as good as it used to before. And all the things you used to say, things you used to do, blew right out the door. Ooh, no more will you be the one. That's what you tell everyone around you. But you know they've heard it all before. What more can you say when love won't let you walk away and you can't help who will love?
Keep me strong, keep me running back to you. For my love, make love to you. Hey, say baby girl, you know you're mine. My sexy love, sexy love, the things you do.
I get like this every time. Oh, these days I feel like
But wait, Reguelo's performance of Asha's You Got It Bad captured the hearts of the judges. His moves on stage got the judges wowed and got them on their feet.
Hey, you got it bad when you on the phone. Hang up when you call right back. You got it bad when you miss a day without your friend, your whole life's so trapped. You got it back when you're stuck in the house and don't wanna have fun. That's all you think about. You got it back when you out for someone. For somebody you got in bed.
Reguelo was shown the golden microphone, which symbolizes the outstanding performance of the night.
Thinking of feeling is we're giving him this.
Let me say I'm a little bit surprised actually that they actually did that. I had prepared, but I didn't know I was going to do this because I was actually coming and I was feeling nervous. Yeah, but then
Soon after came Bella, who performed When I See You by Fantasia Moreno. Her energetic showpiece could not go unnoticed. The judges, in reaction, brandished their wild cards.
Never knew that you might walk by, so I got it right on time when I see you. When I see you, something always taking over me.
Absolutely love to hear it. Yes.
We're only allowed to give one of these, right? But we decided to give her 3.
Oh my goodness, Bella, do you know what that means? It means you gave a good performance, a really good performance. Yeah.
At the end of the night, the judges were impressed with what they saw and were hopeful of a better future.
Tonight, I've had a blown out night. I've not seen them after, so I don't know even what they went through, but the machine they went through to get here, I think that machine really did a great work. I must commend whoever is handling them, because the change is quite enormous. And I'm saying the stellar performance I'm seeing today, I'm so grateful to be here and then be under this great anointing, and I'm grateful to be here.
So stay here and make sure that you watch to the fullest what happens on Voice Factory. You like to have something to say?
Well, I can understand the difficulty of the judges, because if you look at the back-to-back impressive performances, you will tell that the contestants did well, and so the judges were actually struggling to, select the best one out of them. But I'm hopeful that we are going to see a lot more enjoyable performances.
Well, so make sure that you stay here and watch the Season 5 of Voice Factory. This is how we end today's edition of CNR Extra here on City TV. My name is Philip Nilate. I did this with me, Latte. Many thanks for your time always, and keep watching City TV.
In love's gentle embrace, we find solace untold.
I'm yours, and you are mine.
A promise to have and to hold, two souls entwined.
You look like you're going out.
To have.
This is not your house, Gold Digger. How dare you call me a gold digger?
To hold.
You know, you're very disrespectful, Kujo.